Now, it's not a bad idea to install both GA4 and Universal Analytics and run them in parallel, especially if you're used to Universal Analytics. Plus, you should surely keep your existing version of Universal Analytics as Google continues to develop and update GA4. This will give you some time to get used to the new solution. We don't have a timeline as to when Google will sunset Universal Analytics, but their resources for developing new analytics features are focused on GA4. So let's set this up. First, log into Google and go to analytics.google.com or search for Google Analytics and it should appear as the first result. If you don't have an account already, this is the landing page that you'll see. So click on Start Measuring and begin to create your account. If you already have access to a GA account, go to Admin and click on Create Account. We're brought to the same account creation screen. So when you create your account, keep in mind that your GA account could potentially encompass multiple web properties. So for example, your account name could be your organization, and within your organization's account, you could create GA properties for your website, a subdomain, a mobile app, or so on and so forth. So we'll give this a name and take a look at these settings to figure out which one you want to enable. I'm going to check off the first one because I want the enhanced demographics and interest reporting. We'll click Next and set up our first GA4 property. Give the property a name and set the correct time zone, and then you're going to click on Show Advanced Options. Now this is where we'll enable the Universal Analytics property. Slide this toggle over to the right so that it turns blue. Select your HTTP prefix and input your website URL. Make sure that both of these options are selected because we want a GA4 property and a Universal Analytics property. And then we want this enhanced measurement for GA4 property enabled because that'll automatically set up tracking such as link clicks and embedded videos as well as a few other events. Click on Next and you can choose to input this business information, but it's optional. But we'll click on Create and it'll bring us to the Terms of Service, which we'll have to accept in order to proceed. Instead of creating a reporting view like you did with Universal Analytics, we're brought to this screen with web stream details. We have the URL, the name, and measurement ID at the top. There's the stream ID, the status, and then this section for enhanced measurement. And this is the same enhanced measurement that we were talking about earlier when we were first creating our account and property. So you can see exactly what will be automatically tracked when you turn on this enhanced measurement. If you don't want any of these, you can click on the gear settings here and toggle off the ones that you don't want. Go to the next section with tagging instructions. Add the analytics tag using a tag manager like Google Tag Manager or GTM for short. It's a great way to manage your tags, especially if you're not a developer. You can manage tags for advertising, other marketing tools, creating customized tracking, and validating data you're tracking, all without developer resources. Go to tagmanager.google.com, and once the page loads, you'll see that you'll need to create a new account. So the account structure for GTM is similar to what you'll have in GA. So the account name can be your organization name, and the container can be similar to what you named your properties. So the target platform that you select is the type of web property that you're tracking. So click on Create, accept the terms of service. Then you'll see the instructions to install GTM. So copy this first snippet of code, go to your HTML, we'll remove the snippet from the previous example, and we'll paste our code as high up in the head tag as possible. Go back to the instructions, copy the second snippet of code, go to the HTML, find the opening body tag, and paste that snippet of code right after the opening body tag there. Close this out, and in this overview section, click on Add a New Tag. Click in the tag configuration and choose Google Analytics GA4 configuration. Go back to the tagging instructions in your GA tag. Now that you have the GTM code in your HTML, click on Use Existing On-Page Tag and copy your measurement ID. Go back to your GTM tab and paste your measurement ID in that field. We'll leave this option marked because we want that page view event to fire and send to GA. Next, we'll set up the trigger that will fire this tag. So click in the triggering section and choose this All Pages trigger. So this tag will fire whenever a page loads. And we'll name this tag GA4 configuration and save it. Now we can see if our tag works. Click on Preview and publish the empty container. So once the container is published, click on Preview in the modal or the Preview button next to the Submit button in the top right. Then what will happen is a new tab will load where you'll input your URL for the website. So once you do that, click on Start. This will load the next page as well as a new tab with your website. And you'll notice in the URL that it has this GTM debug parameter. So you can differentiate that page view in your GA. And here on this page, we'll see in the lower right corner that the preview mode debugger has been connected. If you go back to the previous tab, you'll also see the same success indicator. Click on Continue, and what you'll see here is that Tag Assistant shows you the tags that have fired and the tags that haven't. This shows us our GA configuration tag fired successfully. We can go to GA4 to validate this as well. In your GA tab, click on this clock icon to load the real-time report. There we are, and our page view event is there as well. You can take a look at the debug mode by scrolling down in the left navigation, and this is enabled by the GTM preview mode. In this debug mode, we can see when those events fired in a single timeline. When we loaded the page, all of these events occurred at the same time, and the scroll event is there because it's a short page and the scroll threshold was already met even without actually scrolling. Next, add the tracking for your UA property. Navigate to the reporting view of your UA property. Your UA property will have your UA tracking ID, which begins with UA underneath the property name. Go to the admin section, and under the property column, click on tracking info and tracking code. Go to the global site tag section and copy the code. Now go to the HTML code of your website, and what you'll do is find the head tag and paste it directly after the opening head tag as the first item. You can also install it using GTM. So let's remove this code snippet from our example. Go back to your tracking code section in the GA admin and find the UAID, the tracking ID that was at the top of your tracking code section, and copy it. In GTM, create a new tag selecting GA Universal Analytics as the tag type. Keep it as a page view tag and configure the GA settings by using a variable. Now this is a GA Universal Analytics settings variable that I created previously, and I'll show you what it looks like in a minute. So we'll name this GA UA page view tag, create a trigger with all pages trigger and save it, and then we'll go to variables, and the variable type is a Google Analytics settings variable. And here we have our UA tracking ID pasted in the tracking ID field. So you see that it matches the UAID that we copied from earlier. Now we can run another test to validate that both properties receive the data. So click on preview and wait for the preview mode to load. Go back to the tag assistant tab, and we can see that both our tags fired. We can also look at our GA4 settings, and we see the events that fired there as well. So let's go to our UA property and check the real-time report. And there's our page view with the GTM bug debug parameter. Now we'll go to GA4 and check the real-time report here. So there we are again, and our second page view is there. So we have 2 page view events and 2 scroll events, one from the test that we just ran, and then the one from the test that we ran a few minutes ago. If you haven't already, please like, subscribe, and share. See you in the next video.